Well, hello everybody, welcome back to episode 58 of my Let's Play. I'm IVATOPIA, this is, get episode name right, Tyranny. Okay, we're about to find out how do you escape the shadow of guilt. No, wrong thing. Now we're about to find out. We did what came naturally, of course. We took initiative before our accusers could fly. We had our family driven to the city square and pillared among the masses of cursed unfaithful. Before our accusers could fly, we had our family. Okay, so you kind of killed your own family beforehand? Before the shocked eyes of the community, we interrogated them one by one, flaring their skins. Oh, I see what he's doing. He was getting accused of something, and he basically took his family to prove he didn't do it, or at least to push blame to someone else, and killed his own family in front of everybody by torturing them to show, you know, I am no traitor or something along that lines. The skins with Tanner's knives are putting their loyalties to the test. Loyalties. Father, mother, sister, aunts, all of them questioned, all of them found guilty. Touches your own family? What city was this? In no tongue your ear would recognize. We call it Waterlog Marsh. You won't find our homeland on maps, but that is a story for another day. We tortured them, these are characters for the safety of the Empire. It was our ardent hope that someone would recognize the justice of our act, the uncompromising. That's close enough. Need to crave a place for ourselves outside of our unfortunate family. Were they guilty? We don't remember. Wow. He touched his family, so he doesn't remember if they're guilty or not. We remember choosing to survive, and we remember the sound of skin peeling away from muscle. The rest was formality. It was all a demonstration for the Overlord. This one can be trusted. A message that was gratefully received. Our devotion to Karasus was the terror and pride of the community. The son of Nerat had grown to something greater than our family name. In time, the iron of misery heard tell of our deeds and invited us into a better life. I could not have done all that for advancement. House Nura needed to be cleansed of treachery. I'm trying to play evil, aren't I? So, favor. If you truly believe so, then you are beginning to think like an arrogant. You said the arrogance of misery offered a better life. He took it upon himself to be our instructor. He taught us the beauty of agony, how to slide the knife just so, how to divide flesh with no mortal wound, and how to inflict walking nightmares upon our foes. No more of our clumsy blood-soaked efforts for spectacle. True torture is a sensory form and stage for an audience of one. He made us an artist. We were proficient at our work. Our name spread beyond the boundaries of the child empire as people whispered in it in private or shrieked it in fear. Whole galleries were erected to display our accomplishments, which were studied and interpreted by head-scratching scholars. Our talent with the blade, rope, and saw grew so renowned. Kara's faithful and unfaithful alike believed we could steal truth from their mind with little more than a stare. And in time, life imitated art. Such is the beauty of Kara's domain, that the remarkable reign over the mediocre, and the talents are recognized, nourished, perfected. Back to my previous questions. Go on, Faithbinder, tell me your need. How do you manage an army as vast as Scarlet Chorus? They manage themselves, of course. Men and women of grit rise in the ranks to become the gang bosses. When they take too many wounds or their swords grow too heavy, another boss claims their rightful place. In all our years, we've never granted a promotion. Conscript and slaves are free to elevate their rank or make up ranks as they go. The only condition is that they have the strength to defend the spot they carved out for themselves. Tell me of the Scarlet Tents. Tent the first. Whatever you can claim through sheer force of will is yours for the taking. Those who think us chaotic should spend some time away from the farm and learn what it means to survive. That also means you can kill who you want. Karas's peace extends to servants of the Empire, but these tiersmen haven't enjoyed the pleasure of our laws yet. Until they do, you can treat them like sport, and even starchy old Tunid will get, and not even starchy old Tunid will get offended. Things will get boring fast when the war is over. Any other rules, if you must call them that, fall under the umbrella of that basic philosophy. Take what you want, but keep what you take. Curious about the Scarlet Curse history. Why wouldn't you be? Rest a spell and let our words wriggle among the chaos of your imagination. The great uninformed think of the Scarlet Curse as one of the Karas' many armies. In fact, they are our personal force. Beginning in the earliest days of our power, we cobbled together a rabble miscreants from freshly conquered territory. The Scarlet Curse has always been dredged from the bottom feeders. Then there are the campfellows who skulk in our long shadow. As Karas fudged the rest of the great empire, we were used to subdue any lingering resistance. Those who opposed Karas, please joined a howling disharmony and lived or died in Karas's war. A fitting fate, is it not? By the time Karas set a magnetism eye, whatever that is, magnetism eye, on the tiers, it was all but assumed that the Scarlet Curse would lead the vanguard. Though they answer to us, we are happy to loan their services for the Overlord's pleasure. Anything else? I had further questions about these locations you're sending me to. We tired of talking to you. Go speak to our lackey. Oh. Fine. Lackey time! No. Lackey! Hi, lackey. Hail, Fatebinder. The voices of Nera had ordered me to answer any of your pestering questions. Wow, pestering. That's uncalled for. So I guess that's what I'm here to do, she scoffs. Not what I call a lieutenant's work, but I'm here to question. I'm not here to question the voices. You're clearly going places in the World 7. You should take pride in that. Vista looks at the lieutenant up and down with an approving nod. Okay. She bows. It feels like a century since we ran together in old Ursa. You had more hair. I had all 10 toes. So you were called 10 toes back then. And better balanced to boot. I always saw myself as more of a gang boss, but in the end I carved out this cozy little niche for myself. By the time this war is done, we'll be unrecognizable, either lining a mass grave or leading force from the rear. Isn't that right, big boy? I guess she's talking to her brother. She glazes up at Bark and jabs his breastplate. It's true that I no longer resemble myself, but under this armor I am still every bit the northerner who Ash recruited. Some things will never change. So what do you need from me? How do you and Verse know each other? Personally, I think this is kind of explaining that bit, but you battle together. She was my gang boss. Back when we were called the Spitted Darlings, Verse had just come off her other gang, the Seven Toes Thinks to Herself. The Bonnie Wastrels, all of them mauled or eaten by beasts in Arizona. Of course, you're right. These weren't easy days, but the beep! If we didn't walk away with our lives and a few stories to our name. Tell me more about yourself. Tell me more, tell me more. I started out like most Scarlet Curse rats, conscripted at the farm, and armed with a pitchfork. It didn't take me long to warm up to the idea of Curse's army. We had more freedom than the tears ever allowed, and I've never been opposed to joining the winning side. I didn't want to see the whole war from the front lines, so the first order of business was to kill my gang boss, and to take his place. Easily done. He was a louse. I ran with at least a half a dozen gangs since the start of the conquest, and it funneled me all the way to the cataphony. It's not an easy life, but there's no lack of amusement to be had, and plenty of opportunities for advancement. If you're curious how I got the gig, you can check out the previous lieutenant over there. She thumbs over to the still figure impaled on the pike. Oh, I guess it's one of these, because there's kind of a few. I'm assuming that was on Tom. The Voices is a sucker for ambition and clever solutions to a problem. What do you think of the voice of Neran? He's the boss, he calls the shots, and I follow. I don't ask a lot of questions. She glances around uncomfortably. I'll say this much, you don't want to insult him, especially when he's going on about his art. He takes this sort of thing personally. Not that you could really tell under that great bronze helmet of his. Do you enjoy your work in the Scholar Chorus? I enjoy surviving, and right now the chorus is the only way to do it. The disfavored don't allow foreigners into their legions until the war is over, and the tears on the Carol's heel, it's red or dead. I never suspected I would have a taste for the work until I got started at the front lines. Something about carving a path through the enemies and watching the army grow behind you. You is just satisfying. Satisfying, oh yeah, so satisfying. Makes me feel good to belong to something, oh yeah. I have questions about my first task. Go ahead. Can't have you doing the voice's bidding uninformed. We're not what you call a perfectionist. At least by our understanding of the word, but he likes to have his orders understood. What can you tell me about Bladegrave? The Edict of Storms tore it up something good, made it all about the unrecognizable from the start. That hasn't stopped fanatics like the Unbroken from rallying as if their old country still exists. Last I heard, they had Grave and Ash's daughter changed since the last year of the conquest. I don't know how Starlet treats its prisoners, but disfavored are known for taking a beating. There's no telling what she's endured. Who rules the area now? No telling these days. Disfavored are normally in control, but the Unbroken act like they never lost the war. Of course, their leaders are holding up behind the walls of Sentinel stand, so no matter how you cut it, there isn't much to rule, unless you want to be queen of a tornado, which doesn't sound half bad. I can think of worse prospects. Tell me about the Graven Ash's daughter. If she's anything like her papa, then she's as stubborn as a wall and nearly half as smart. All that aside, they say she fights like a charging beast. We heard about her even before the disfavored march south. She's got a temper, something fierce, and an independent streak that always been at odds with disfavored roots. I'm curious about your thoughts on the Edict of Storms. The only good thing about the Edict is that you can see it from plenty far away. A massive tornado built of Karis' frustration swirling around Sentinel Stand. The seat of power is old. In old Star Wars, they say that it only exhausts itself when the last of Storm's ruling family is dead. Can't say if that's true or not, but it makes for a good story, eh? Let me ask you something else. Suppose I'm here for conversation. Go on then. What can you tell me about Leven's Crossing? Before the conquest, it was small. It was a small trading post that you could pass by without regrets on the way to somewhere better. With sacred folks running off with their possessions and rings, it became something greater, a city almost. Tuna sent his force-bound smiths there to work on their weapons in private. Between that and the refugees, Leven's Crossing has gotten more attention over the last 3 years than the last 3 centuries. Make you wonder about the type of places that sprout up only on account of war. Tell me about the Forgebound. You're really straining the limits of what I know here. I can tell you that the Forgebound take rocks from underground and make weapons and armor. But that's it. If I could tell you more than that, I would likely be Leven's Crossing swinging a hammer myself. Who leads the Forgebound? They have a master by the name of Tyranny? Whatever the name is. I only know the name because I don't really understand it. I heard the voices babbling it as he spun some plan or another. She's supposed to be a rare talent. I couldn't tell you good iron from bad myself. Tell me about Leven's Crossing settlement. Not much to tell, mostly families live there, but some groups have to share space and pile on top of each other for a place to rest their head. During the conquest, we relieved the pressure by swooping in and taking a few locals for the army, but it's getting to be chancy with the Civil War and all. Let me ask you something else. Suppose I'm here for conversation, go on. I'll get started with Black Cave. Sounds like a fine prospect. Junction is now unlocked on the world map. Splendid! You're to make contact with Jagged Remedy, reuniting gang leader in the Black Cave. He and the gangs are holed up in the place known as Trapper's Junction. Don't forget to report back to the voices when you're done. And if you find Aaron's daughter, try not to kill her. Corpses are useless to Erica. She pauses and frowns, mostly useless.
You learn something every day.
Yeah, we're leveled. Nice. Okay, with that, we're going to save. Because that was a long conversation. I'm going to end this episode. So let's grab my good stuff. And see you next week when we'll probably head off to, was it Trappings? So I've Toby's in. Bye for now. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.